Hi, I'm Mike Morse. We have a busy day here in Detroit. It's January 24th. The James Jackson versus Chris Hansen and Daniel Sulzbach, aka 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧𝗏 cases are being heard today in a Tacoma District Court. We have our own legal team on the ground there representing Mr. Hansen, and Daniel has his own team as well. We have other people who will be in the courtroom and in the courthouse on the lookout, and will be either taking pictures or videotaping that and calling me right after the hearing. That's taking place today at 1:30 Pacific time. As a reminder to some of you who don't know or didn't hear the broadcast the other night, Mr. Hansen had a petition filed against him for an order for protection of harassment. And it's kind of like a PPO, a personal protection order in some states. That's what they call it here in Michigan. And it is alleging that it was an emergency situation, which is interesting. And Mr. Jackson alleges that Mr. Hansen was a stalker, showed up at the house making hateful and harassment type videos since August of 2019. Mr. Hansen never received notice of this or service of this, which is relevant in legal terms. It's just like a lawsuit or a subpoena. You must get official notice by a process server or someone in law enforcement, someone licensed to hand these over, just like a subpoena would be served or a lawsuit. So technically, there's legal argument that can be made that this hearing should not go forward. The lawyers on the ground will handle those objections if they need to come up. First thing that has to happen is Mr. Jackson, as well as Kai, must show up at the courthouse today. These type of personal protection type orders require the petitioners, which is what they are, to show up in the courtroom and state their case. It's not enough to just do it on the paperwork. So first thing first, if they don't show up, it gets dismissed. There will be no argument. There will be no lawyers arguing with the other side or the judge. Secondly, Mr. Jackson and Kai Jackson are representing themselves. It's called in pro se. They filed this without an attorney, it appears. They signed it themselves, and they don't have an attorney. So they're handling this case on their own. So Mr. Hansen, as well as 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧𝗏, will have a legal counsel there prepared to make the arguments. What I think is interesting is the definition of harassment and what will be at the center of this argument today. So I'm going to put that up here on the screen for you. But unlawful harassment means a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person which seriously alarms, annoys, or harasses, or is detrimental to such person, and which serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. The course of conduct shall be such as would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress, and shall actually cause substantial emotional distress to the petitioner, or when the course of conduct would cause a reasonable parent to fear for the well-being of their child. So that's what the judge has to decide where the evidence lies. The standard of proof, which means the petitioners, Mr. Jackson and Kai Jackson, must prove beyond a preponderance of the evidence, more than 50%, that Mr. Hansen harassed them, as well as 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧𝗏, that he has harassed them by the definitions I just showed you. We are pretty confident that when the judge hears the evidence, whether it be today or another day, that this judge, they go by commissioners in Washington, will not be able to find for the petitioners. We do not think the petitioners will have enough proof based on one knocking of the door, which was very civil, which is on tape. There was no yelling, no banging, no threatening. So we are not concerned about the legal ramifications of this, but we are taking it seriously. I've been getting lots of calls and text messages regarding this hearing, and some of you are going to the courthouse, and some of you have some other information. If you have information that you would like me to know, I'm going to put my text number on the screen. You can also email me at podcast@openmicpodcast.com. That should also be on the screen for you. Any photographs, video, any evidence or information that you want me to have, please text or email me as soon as possible. So I'm going to be receiving phone calls as soon as the hearing is done. I will do my best to record those, and then I will play them as they come in to you, the people who are concerned about this case, as Chris Hansen is, as I am, and we will be putting them out on the social media channels, on the Mike Morse Law Firm YouTube channel, on Instagram, and on Twitter. So if you want notifications of those things, subscribe wherever you want, and I will report back with Mr. Hansen's permission, which he has given me to do this, as soon as I get that information. So expect that in a few hours after the court hears the case and makes a decision. Thank you and have a good day.